part for just me talking, because I really want to talk about this to our group. I literally cannot feel the emotion of anger. I still get the emotion of disappointed, but the reason, and I loved what you just said, Alan, that maybe, you made a joke about being all plugged up and I should go to a therapist. And it's not that at all. It's that I know, and I thank my lucky stars, that I learned something from Sid that's available to everybody. I could not get behind getting angry. It looks absurd to me, knowing that everybody's doing the best they can in that moment, right? Like, can you guys, do you get anger still? You do.
Yeah.
Not,
I do notice, of course, that it's changing. Like, I think I get angry less, and I never get really serious. Like, there's always a part that's watching it, and anyway, I have this tendency to laugh about myself. Like, I often cry and laugh at the same time, because somehow I always find it funny when I'm so revved up about something. But I used to be really seriously angry, and I definitely still get angry. Yeah, for a shorter time, and like, I don't get so much into the story, and I'm not angry like 3 weeks later or 3 days later, but in the situation, yeah, I do.
What about you, Alan? Have you
Alan, the entity can be irritated, right?
irritated?
I don't often get enraged. I don't remember the last time I was really, really angry. But like you, Pallavi, there's the little soul of Alan is watching and is rolling their eyes, if there is such a thing.
I love that. The soul of Alan is rolling his eyes.
Rolling his eyes.
Really? You're going to get angry about this? I don't think so.
Have you been down this road before, Alan? What do you think? Good idea? Oh.
Yeah, it's like, the angel and the devil, those old cartoons, right? And we know to pay more attention to the angel now, because that's the voice of wisdom. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get pretty angry with my brother. He could get me going. I can't. I just it's like watching a movie. It's interesting. It's just, I get intrigued by separate realities. Like,
Oh,
I don't even get that irritated anymore. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because I did not realize until this moment talking about it that I cannot get angry. Like, it doesn't mean that I am oblivious to things. I'm going to be talking to the people I need to talk to about the thing that set off this discussion before I started record it. I'll definitely have a conversation. I'll be emailing out of kindness. Hey, what's happening? But, yeah, and even though, my bank account is a lot smaller as a result of what it could be, it just is. It's not that. Now, if it meant that I'd be out on the streets, maybe I would get angry, because it was be something really big. I don't know.
well, it's amazing that you can see it so clearly, because I mean, it's true, it doesn't make any sense, and we all know that, but I sometimes feel so drawn into it. And it's weird. I talked to a friend about it today. I had a friend come over for coffee, and we talked about this, like how she's into the 3P too. So that's very nice. She's my work colleague and a very good friend. And like, sometimes you can watch yourself, and like the quiet space seems like so close, or you can touch it, it's palpable. But at the same time, the mind is going off in something. And like when you said your brother, I have this with my sister. I can get in a discussion in my head with my sister because we have so different worldviews. And she always comes with this idea that hers is the right one. And of course I'm thinking, mine is the right one, but I'm covering it very nicely and saying everybody has his own worldview and you have to see that, which is basically just trying to convince her of something again. So I just I watch myself do that, and still it just pulls me in. And I mean, it's not a big problem, I'm getting out again, but I'm just sometimes amazed of this habit, or of this strong urge to go in there and do these discussions in my head. It's amazing. I'm hoping it, or at least actually I'm seeing that it's changing. I think it's something that also just happens with insight, right? It's not enough to see it intellectually, but yeah, it's funny
And it
sometimes.
sneaks up on you,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah,
really sneaks up on you. Like, unless somebody brings it up, I wouldn't like what happened on this conversation. I would not have even noticed that I can't get worked up over stuff anymore.
Mm.
Anger starts as a head thing for me, but it translates into or irritation, I guess, is more of what I experience. And it translates into a stomach and chest feeling,
Mm.
just like that,
Mm.
just like that. And what I'm learning to do is to uh, disengage from this, just disengage from it, um, treat it with less importance,
Yeah.
and then it dissipates.
Mm.
But the feeling, the mind, the thought to feeling transition is like that. It's so
Yeah.
fast, so fast.
Yes. Yes. You know where I notice that? Like, if I see something that is very upsetting, like if I see a scene on TV, we'll say, of blood and, you know, some kind of shoot 'em up kind of thing, I'll quickly change the channel, but I notice it in my legs.
Mm.
It is immediate. The calves of my legs, it's like,
Hmm,
Mm.
immediate.
hmm.
So I know what you mean. And, that's where I notice that immediacy, that anger registers. And would you say, Alan, that when you get that feeling, I'm just curious about this, when you get that feeling in your chest and your stomach, is that the alert for you that says, whoa, Alan, you're going in the wrong direction in your head?
Um, the message that comes to mind is that hurts. I don't want that. I don't like where this is going. Um, Step back if you can, or if you can't step back, acknowledge it, let it pass. I guess that's that process also happens in an instant.
Mm.
Right?
And maybe too, like, do you get the thought, I'll think about this later when I'm more clear headed, I'll have a look at later, but
Never,
this is not the time?
never. If I get angry, I never bring it up again in my own mind later because it's a trigger. The situation was a trigger. And
Mm.
I just don't want to go over my triggers again. You can say, well, it was useful to understand your triggers, and sometimes it is, I guess it depends on where you are with your triggers, really, with the things that cause negative feelings. If you have a if you have a kind of an analytical, or I don't know, so if you care about your triggers, it's useful to know what they are, no question. But I definitely don't want to go over my triggers. No, thank you.
Yeah, me
Yeah, I think
either.
this is
I
this
don't
is one
see
of
the
the cool.
sense. I don't see the sense in
Yeah.
focusing, even thinking about triggers. What were you going to say, Pallavi? I cut you off there.
No. Yeah, that this is something that I learned from Sid. Like I thought before, you have to figure out what your triggers are to identify all of them and, somehow take care of them or learn something new, change them, whatever. And I think this is, for me, this is so whole big part of the beauty of Sid's teachings to understand, no, you don't need to, because it's a little step upstream. You see that it's always the same process that's happening. If you get lost in your mind, you get in a bad feeling. So it doesn't really matter the content, right? And I find that so helpful.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not my job. I
Wow.
sometimes say that.
Do you happen to remember where Sid actually labeled it as triggers? Because I would love to send that.
No, I have never heard it. I don't think he used the word triggers.
No.
I
No,
don't think so.
I
I
don't
didn't
think
think
so
so.
too. I think we talked in Hannah's group about it because people keep asking about triggers when they have some physical symptoms or stuff like that. And so I think Hannah talked about it, that basically trigger is not really a thing, it's just like you're
Yeah.
getting caught up with something. I just hear it in Sid's talks when he keeps talking about don't look at the mess, you will just create more mess. And I
Yes,
love that
yes,
those
yes.
talks when he explains that.
Don't look at the mess. You'll just create more mess. I love that.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
think too that, as I've begun to accept authenticity and vulnerability, if I can be more authentic and vulnerable in the moment, I understand my triggers more. I accept them. It's okay. It's okay to have those triggers, and that takes some of their stickiness
Yeah.
away. And I know I'll always have triggers. You think you're free of them, right? Till you turn the corner and there's something, and oh, there we go. Okay, always have
Yeah.
triggers.
But you know what they are, right? I mean,
Yeah,
how much
definitely.
does that, I mean, that helps me so much, like knowing that a trigger or whatever you want to call it, a habit of thinking, something that really gets you, is just a thought.
Yeah.
It's just me making up that that is a problem somehow.
Yeah, and to me it even feels like when we say trigger, it sounds like there is a solid thing outside that always makes me angry, but that's not even true. It depends on my state of mind in that moment, because sometimes I don't react at all to the same stuff, which sometimes sets me off. So it's not really like the trigger. It's just like how I'm
That
reacting
would be
right now.
so helpful, Pallavi, if you have an example of that. Like the same thing that gets
Yeah.
your goat in one state of mind
Yeah.
wouldn't phase you in another state of mind.
Yeah, but to me it seems like there's loads and loads of examples, because like I can start with pain freaking me out one day and not the other, or my husband saying something, doing something, my cat mowing at me, and like I noticed this so much that it really all depends on where I am at right now. And it's cool to see that there's so much freedom in there, because I don't need to control my environment or take care of getting all the triggers out of my life or something like that.
It's just an indication of where you
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
on the, however you think of it, the ladder of
Mm.
moods or the, what floor you're on. I love George Pransky's metaphor of
Mm.
floors of a building. Are you in the basement, or are you in the penthouse, or are you somewhere in between?
And I liked what Ellen said about accepting them or being okay with saying to yourself it's okay to have these reactions, because I also feel like the less judgment I put on it, on getting angry or sad or something, the less it shows up and the less big of a deal it is also. And the other funny thing is that I feel that since I stopped trying to figure out my triggers or my problems, I feel like I've learned more about myself and how my mind works during the last year than I learned in 25 years of therapy groups before that. So that's kind of funny.
Say that again, Pallavi, just in the last year.
In the last year, I feel I learned more about myself, like how my mind works and how my personality is set up, than in the last 25 years I did therapy before that, or therapy groups, some kind of spiritual stuff.
I know. I went to one Sid Banks talk and I learned more than I did in 4 years of Jungian psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
There's something I haven't really thought about this before, but so when I first met Sid, the feeling I had was so deep and so real that my head didn't have time to get in the way.
Yeah.
Whereas with my triggers, it's almost like they're the feelings and the thoughts, they're more like feelings or thoughts, right? FOUGHTS, because the connection is so fast. It's so fast. And if I'm at peace or quiet, there's a distance between what I think and what I feel. And as my life becomes more urgent with, grant writing or deadlines or whatever, the distance shrinks.
Yeah.
And I've learned to not trust the feeling. I know that it was thought created. However, that distance is so small. And knowing that it doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter because it's still a thought created. And yeah, anyway, I'm sort of rambling here, but
No,
I know.
no, that's
how
great.
Go ahead, Pallavi.
No, sorry.
I was just going to say that what rings for me on that, Allan, is that, and it sounds like an idea. I'm struggling with how to say it because it's going to sound like an idea to use your feelings as a guide. And we've heard that in the Three Principles community from a lot of people. But there's a much deeper meaning beyond it being a good idea. That's the way we work. I mean,
that's good.
I depend much more just as a matter of fact, as a way of living life, that I'm much more in tune of a beautiful, loving, compassionate feeling versus an upset, irritated, disappointed feeling. I still get upset in the way of disappointment. That's a big thing for me. That's like a what would the word be? Kind of like a swan song. I play in my head a lot. Oh, it should have turned out this way, and how come it turned out that way? Disappointment. And then I laugh at myself because at some point, and it gets quicker. I think you would both say that the more you're around the principles and people talking about the principles or reading or Sid or listening to Sid, that there's this cumulative effect where you just start getting in the groove of living life as a feedback system. Like our feelings are telling us where we're at. It's our GPS.
Yeah.
It's our internal guidance system.
Oh, thank you for saying that it's not a good idea. And I think that's the way it's been presented over the decades. I am so sorry, you guys. I have to head out the door and drive a few miles. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's
really rich
Thank you.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope to see you maybe on Thursday. I hope we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you, both of you.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank
You've
you,
got 3
Allan.
hours more
Thank
than
you.
me and
And
8
good
hours
luck for
more
your
than
for your dog.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Bye, Allan. See you
Bye bye,
soon.
you guys.
Bye. Yeah, I love what you just said, Laurie. I think it's much more than a good idea, and but I feel like this is being taught, or at least from the teachers I've been listening to, they really taught me the importance of realizing that feelings are nothing more than an indicator for where your mind is at, and like it's such a funny misunderstanding, because like in all the other spiritual and psychological groups, they start teaching you that you should listen more to your feelings, but it's like they teach it in a way as if the feelings say something about the outside. So if you don't feel good somewhere, you should change it. You should change your job, change this, change that, you know? And so it's a very funny misunderstanding in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this saying, which is also a book title, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Change your environment, change where you live, change,
Yeah.
like you said, your job. You're still bringing your own thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still going to be, this is the home, no matter where we go.
I think Sid talks about it in one of the talks. He says like, oh, and then you take your problems on a little holiday and you say to your problem, oh, should we go on a holiday? And then you're on your holiday and the problem is still there. I liked what Ellen was describing with the distance getting smaller, you know, when you, to me, it always feels like when I'm in a really good state of mind, I'm somehow back here in a wide open space. It's like this blue sky metaphor. And I
Ooh.
feel like when I'm getting more stressed or tensed or in a hurry, I get kind of sucked into the details until my perspective gets very small and very narrow, you know? Like I can have this wide perspective and I can get really sucked in and stuff. And then you only look at the details and you don't see the big picture anymore. But it helps me to have this image in my mind of consciousness working this way. You know, you can concentrate like on the screen, on the TV, or on a problem, or you can, you know, like zoom out and be in this wide open space somehow.
Oh, I love that. You say that again.
I don't think I can. It's just that I think I read a book once, like some kind of, oh, it's this no self, no problem book. Do you know that?
Who?
No self, no problem.
No, who wrote
No.
that?
It's a book from a Buddhist guy, but it's about the brain and it's a cool book. Anyway, they were explaining consciousness, I think, and they were talking about how consciousness works. I mean, you know, it's an interesting question. And I got aware that you can be very focused, like when you watch the TV, you won't hear somebody talking or whatever. And I felt like it's the same way when we get fixated on problems. It's like we don't see anything else anymore. So to me, it seems like with levels of consciousness, it's like zooming in or zooming out. Like when you zoom into a problem, you get very, you know, narrow minded and all you can see is the problem. But when you zoom out again, you see the whole world and sky and you can see all the solutions and stuff. And to me, kind of this image works very good.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love that. Zooming in and zooming
Yeah.
out makes
Yeah.
so much sense. You can feel that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's really how life
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of that as a metaphor before. It's a great one.
Mm.
That when we're just in the mess of our
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
it's like we've zoomed in,
Yeah.
and then you realize, wait a minute, that was me thinking up a storm. I was in
Yeah.
the middle of a thought storm. Oh, and that'll happen when I'm walking solo by myself in the
Yeah.
woods and I'm all caught up. Then all of a sudden, I notice this wonderful scene, either a
Yeah.
gorgeous tree or, animals being walked or little kids on scooters with their funky helmets
Yeah.
scenes. And then I'm zoomed out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you see the big picture and you're out
Right.
of your head
Yeah.
and you're in life
Yeah.
and you're in life. You're noticing
Yeah.
what's going on. You wouldn't
Yeah.
believe how many people I pass on this
Yeah.
beautiful trail, and you
Yeah.
could tell they're in their head.
Yeah.
They're like looking down, their face is
Yeah.
scowled, and
Yeah.
they're busy thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's amazing, right? And I think to me, it feels like you can see it super easily in the eyes. Like if people are somewhere else or if they are there, it's just like it makes the eyes shine when you're there. It's very funny, but it's super easy to see, I think.
That's so true. I never thought of it like
Uh,
that. I just kind of got the sense, like
yeah,
like I can sense when somebody has zoned out.
yeah,
They're somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, so we do pick up on another sense
Yeah,
what's going on for somebody else.
yeah, I think so too. I mean, I don't know, maybe it depends on my own state of mind too. So if I'm in a really bad mood, I might think my husband is looking grumpy, even though he isn't, you know, I'm not sure.
And you want to say, what's wrong, right?
What's wrong with you? Why do you look so grumpy? No, I'm fine.
I can't remember who said this. It could have been Sid, but it could have also been, I don't know, could have been Rick Suarez, you know, the psychologist at the Coral Gables Institute. I can't remember, or maybe even Bill Pettit, but I love it. It was something along the lines of when your partner or somebody in the room with you looks upset, the last thing you want to do is ask them what's wrong because it's probably about you. Why would you want to do that to yourself? Ask what's wrong? And you know, people get the wrong idea. They think that that's being compassionate, that that's being empathic. I
And you
just had
think,
a discussion like that with a
yeah.
youngster.
Tell me more about it. You think it's not being empathic when you ask somebody what's wrong because you're like implying that something's wrong, or?
Well, no, just that, you know, the person asking that could, you know, probably is asking because they want to help the other person.
Yeah.
But that's along the lines of needing to fix the other person.
Yeah.
The other person, even
Yeah.
if it's not about you. I mean, that was kind
Yeah.
of a joke that was said. Even if they're upset about something else, you're implying that they need help. They need fixing.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that you can't say to your partner, "Oh, it looks like you're not, you know, you're not in a great place, but I'm here if you want to talk about it."
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Just not making a big deal about it.
Yeah.
You know, if something's happening, if you know, yeah, because they could feel that it's loving and compassion, and I think it's a beautiful thing to let the other person know that you know they're fine.
Yeah.
It's just a bad moment for them. They'll get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. It can also seem very judgmental when somebody asks you, because also like with your partner, usually the question is very usually you know when something's wrong, you know, like otherwise you wouldn't be asking. So you're basically seeing that they're not in a good mood. So asking it is just like kind of provocative often, you know.
It's true. That's true. Asking, which seems so innocent, the person doing the asking, it does come off as being provocative.
Yeah, often it does.
Often,
Yeah.
Yeah. We humans, how interesting, right?
Did you come across the part in one of Sid's talks where he talks about how people get sad about all the sad stuff happening in the world, and then they think they are very good people because they are so sad, and everybody says, yeah, you're such a good person because you have so much empathy, and then Sid says, all you're doing is just adding more sadness to the world. I really like that. Because
I love that.
Yeah, I love that because it's so to the point, and I know this for myself, and yeah, I really like this clarity because it's just true, you know.
If something's not good, do you really want to point it out and shine a flashlight on it?
Yeah.
Right? What is that going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I don't remember Sid saying that, but I know Elsie recently talked about that very thing.
Yeah.
In I guess it's a vlog or it was a webinar for 3PG.
Yeah.
She talked about that very thing. I think she did a great job.
Yeah. Did you read her book yet?
No, I'm 3 books behind.
Yeah.
Like I actually have a section in Allan's book, Perfect Misfortune, that I marked off. It's
Oh, yeah.
brilliant.
Okay, tell me.
It starts out with a Sid quote: "Life is what you think it is." I love that quote.
Yeah.
Life is what you think it is. You want me to read a little?
Yeah.
Read, and this is something I meant to ask Allan. Like, if he rereads his book, does it ever feel like, who wrote that? That's really good. When I reread The Secret of Love, it's like, I can't remember if that was my story that I
Yeah.
offered or if it was Chris's. Whoever it was, hers or mine, is like, that's really good. Did we write that?
I even have this with my blog. When I sometimes read an old blog from a year ago, I'm thinking, oh, really? I had that insight.
We're too funny. So here he says, rediscovering the facts of life. Over the years, I found that most things are built on a simple core of truth. The essence of skiing, for example, has to do with tipping and pressuring your skis in a balanced way. Atop this core are layers and layers of techniques, as well as variables such as snow conditions, your physical conditioning, clothing, and equipment. In another sphere, the core of a successful marriage is love. Love resets marriage. Find love, and the details of living with your spouse will work themselves out. As you see your significant other with affectionate awareness, your common sense will guide you. In the business world, two adages: make more than you spend, and take care of your people, and they'll take care of you, are important to the success of any enterprise. Though these core truths are elaborated in a score of management theories, virtually everything can be boiled down to a few simple facts, including life itself. The first spiritual fact is that there is an energy underlying life, a source of life, an awareness we experience as creative potential, a transcendent intelligence, wisdom, or bliss. Our consciousness, our personal awareness, manifested through our bodies as an expression of that impersonal awareness. I believe we return home, he has in parentheses, recede, into that greater awareness when our bodies finally wear out. The second spiritual fact is that we all have the human capacity to use this energy via a gift called thought. Thought enables us to organize this underlying energy through our thinking in images, words, and feelings. Thought is the raw material of our moment to moment life experience and links us to the source of deeper wisdom through our thinking. The third spiritual fact is that we all have the capacity to bring our thinking alive via what might be called consciousness or awareness. Consciousness shines its light on thought, like a slide projector light bulb shines the light on film and transforms it into experience. Consciousness makes our thinking seem real. These three spiritual facts and human capacities provide a structure for understanding everything you and I experience. As I came to appreciate the role these facts play in creating my life, I found the feelings I wanted. I expect this process will work in much the same way for you too.
Mhm.
I thought that was such a great um,
Yeah.
explanation of the
Yeah.
principles. And then he goes on to write about a page of on each of the principles. But I
Mm.
just thought that
No,
was
it's beautiful.
a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
description. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Really nice. Yeah, maybe I should really look at it again and hear what Alan finds out with the publishing. It would be nice to translate Perfect Misfortune.
Yeah. Right. Because I
Yeah.
guess in translating, you also get the gift of deeper understanding,
Yeah.
right? You have to translate it into another language.
Yeah,
It
it's weird
really gets you
sometimes.
thinking about expressing each line.
Yeah. It's really
Wow.
weird sometimes because you just don't have the right words, so there are different words possible. And it's weird if you can't ask the author about it because they don't speak the language, you know? So it's kind of, you just have to decide for yourself. I like it when I know people. Like with Hannah, I felt I knew a lot about her teaching, and so I kind of had a feeling for, you know, what she was trying to say. And so now it would also be nice because I know Ellen a little bit, then it's easier, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
wow. Yeah.
Mm.
And your grounding in the principles is really, really good. Yeah, you've got a really deep
Thank you.
understanding. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's really important for somebody who's going to translate these
Yeah.
three principles books because,
Mm.
the world is just so geared to the outside in paradigm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
No,
could really.
it's funny to say, but I really felt this. Like last week, I was in a group. I'm in John L. Mockadam's group still sometimes. John L.
Who's
Mockadam.
Oh, John Mokadiam. I'm
Yeah.
probably mispronouncing it. John.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
He's
has this
wonderful.
group, Foundations of Health, and I've been in there last summer, and I'm still in the Facebook group sometimes. And
Oh,
now, like last week, I think we had a call, and it suddenly I spoke up and I just thanked him for the group. And in this moment, I just realized how busy I was just a year ago with finding solutions and looking for remedies, and like so busy searching outside. And like now in hindsight, I see such a big difference, and I felt how settled I feel in this understanding that what I need will show up and my wisdom will guide me, and I don't have to put so much effort in it. But I can't even tell you when this happened. I think it happened in very little steps, but suddenly in talking to him, I just saw the difference, because I remembered when I talked to him, I had one session with him sometime in the beginning, and I just suddenly it came to my mind to see the difference, and it's amazing, right? Like the three principles are really amazing.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
How
really.
much just understanding
Yeah,
those three principles,
it's amazing.
how it changes.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what this whole conversation between
yeah,
us and Alan earlier was all
yeah,
about. That, right?
yeah,
That oh my gosh, it's just amazing that
yeah,
so much of your old behaviors that were unhealthy just drop away.
yeah,
You don't have to do a technique. And if you do do a technique to get rid of that old behavior, you might be able to get rid of it for a time being, but not for any extended time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird because I find it hard to pinpoint down why it is such a big difference, because like not with therapies but with spiritual teachings like Ramana Maharshi or guys like that, I feel like the essence is very much the same, and I even feel I understand now what they are saying a bit better. But what I don't really get is why in all those years of listening to guys like that, I never had this kind of like insights in the sense of really seeing something for myself and seeing stuff fall away. And I can't really tell you what the difference in the teaching is, why it seems to be so much simpler to get it from listening to Sid or the 3P teaching than to the other teachings. But it's not like that just for me. I saw it with all kinds of different people, like with my friends and my husband, but also like with all the people in the group. I mean, not everyone falls in love with the principles. Some people leave again, but for a lot of them, I heard a lot of people talk about this, like that they suddenly understand stuff and it gets simpler and easier. And you know what I mean? I don't
More
really know
direct.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much more direct. I know exactly what you mean because,
Yeah.
I would read things from Joel Goldsmith or, I can't even think of all the names now.
Yeah.
And it was hard to, like, was using my intellect to
Yeah.
understand it. I
Yeah.
think that's the difference.
Yeah.
That Sid, listening to Sid, it bypasses the
Yeah.
intellect.
Mm.
And I think it's myself, I'm speaking for myself. I think it's his huge gift to humanity was talking about three spiritual facts: mind, thought, and consciousness, that this is how we are taking formless energy, the ability to create,
Mm.
into this physical world of form.
Yeah. Mm.
That to me, it is the difference.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. Nobody else really explains that, right?
Right. That
Yeah.
it's an inside out job.
Yeah.
Anything we feel is the result of what's coming through us.
Mm.
It's not the result of what's coming at us.
Mm.
Because stuff comes at us, and if we're, if I don't have my hearing devices on and I don't hear it, I don't get affected by it.
Yeah.
Do you know, in the early days, Rick Suarez, the psychologist who, was at the institute in Coral Gables, brilliant, brilliant guy. He, oh, I totally lost what I was just going to say. I would say something like, it'll come to me. It was a good one. I drew that too long talking about him. Oh, I know what it was. He said that one of our classes, I cracked up. He said that his wife's name was Ginger. So, and in Florida, even back then, it was an open floor plan, which is very common now, but this is dating back to the 80s. And they had an open floor plan. And she's around the corner. He's on the couch in the living room. She's around the corner in the kitchen making tea, and he's mumbling under his breath. He's mumbling about something he's mad about her, like, why did she do this? And I don't understand it. And she didn't hear him. She's making tea, so she pops her head around the corner and says, Rick, do you want some tea? And that, just like woke him up. Like, what are you doing? You've got this really sweet wife, and you're here mumbling nasty things about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know what's not in our head.
Yeah.
If we don't hear it, if we don't see it,
Yeah.
it's not in our experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really
That's the
crazy.
big difference.
Yeah.
I think that made such a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like when
And
you
also like that, sorry?
when you read like things about Buddhism
Yeah.
or the other spiritual teachers, do you find that you get a better understanding of what they're saying now?
Yeah, like not the general Buddhist books or something, but there are some spiritual teachers like Osho.
Osho.
Like he kept pointing that you have to listen beyond the words, and that the words are only a finger pointing to the moon, and you have to find it inside yourself. So he's very much doing the same pointers, but he's doing a lot of stories and stuff around it. So to me, I never got the simplicity, even though now I can see that he's trying to tell the exact same message, basically, but it was kind of confusing me, all the other stuff around. And I think what to me comes very close to it is this who am I teaching from Ramana Maharshi and Papaji. Like these guys would just keep asking, who am I? And for every thought, you would ask yourself, who is having this thought? Who is having this experience? So they would always point back to the part that's watching it all, And I think that in itself is a beautiful teaching too. But I think just while you were talking, I thought with the three principles, to me, there's two dimensions, because it's also part of it is also understandable for the intellectual mind. Like the when Hannah first told me that you always experience your thinking, even before having an insight about it, I kind of saw that it made sense. And you know what I mean? It feels a little bit like it gives some information to the intellectual mind so that you kind of go on pause and think, oh, that's something new. And then you have room to have an insight,
Right.
something like that.
Right. You know what that reminds me of, how Jan Chipman talked about, and that's, they have the first, Jan and Chip are the first story in The Secret of Love, where she went to her first Sid lecture by accident
Yeah.
because she was getting a ride home from people.
Mm.
You might have heard this story. She was getting a ride home from people who were going to the Sid lecture. So
Okay.
she had to sit there and go
Mm.
to it. And she said, as he spoke, it was like she had this internal checklist.
Mm.
And she would say, oh, that's true.
Mm.
And he'd say something else. And then the check mark would go on in
Yeah.
her head. And she'd be like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
like you just hear,
Yeah.
even though you couldn't explain it
Yeah.
intellectually what the heck
Mm.
Sid said, but there's a deeper place of knowing what he was talking about.
Yeah.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
That's just so
Yeah.
bizarre.
It is.
Like the soul, it is right there, totally gets it, totally gets it. But man, the personal mind, personal mind, it's really foreign. It's like another language.
Yeah.
Talk about translating books. And Sid would even say, I don't get it. I'm speaking English, aren't I?
Yeah.
Why don't you get this? I thought I was speaking English.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's so interesting. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So glad we had this discussion. I think,
Yes.
there are a lot of things in what we said that can help a lot of people who are struggling.
Yeah.
Boy, we know struggle, right?
Yeah.
No, what's that saying? We're no strangers to struggle.
Oh yeah. No.
I'm so glad that you're helping, or Hannah, I guess it's Hannah you said, is helping Bill Pettit with his book.
Yeah.
You know the
Yeah.
name of Bill's book?
No. No.
And Judy's coming out with a book.
No. Cool.
I'm
Great.
gonna retire just to read.
Yeah.
There's so many books I'm behind.
Yeah. I have so many talks to watch and so many books to read,
I know,
I
right?
think I need to get off now, Laurie. It's
I
already a
know.
9:15.
Oh wow, we really kept going. This is so great, Pallavi. Thank
So
you
nice
so
to
much.
see you.
So
Yeah.
great seeing you too.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.
Or
Beautiful
night.
day.
It's
And
nighttime there. You gotta go.
yeah, I'm going to take a bath now. See you next week, hopefully.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.